Is there any way in hell a team drafts Bronny James and doesn't get LeBron James? This is the DA.
And I'm the real King James.
Now we're talking basketball, the man cave sports. What we always keep bringing up, basketball. I hate basketball so much. I hate LeBron James, but I know it's a LeBron James. You've got to talk about it. We got to discuss this. Bronny James has made himself draft eligible. The kid who's averaging like 5 points at USC as a freshman said, man, I'm going to take my talent to the NBA. And his famous dad is basically going to get him drafted. Shocker. LeBron needing to be there to get his son drafted. But rumors are out there that LeBron might be going to whatever team Bronny plays for. He said in the past he wants to play with his son, wants to be teammates. I get it. I get it as a dad. But if you're a team and you're looking at this draft class and if you're not going to get LeBron James, is there any way in hell you're going to draft Bronny James? And that's what we kind of be talking about here. James, how are you doing?
I'm doing just fine. I don't like whenever we discuss LeBron because he took my name, King James. Ha! What a bunch of crap.
Right?
You said a couple of things to start the show that I might be a little confusing, so I want to go back to it a second. First of all, would anybody take Bronny James if it wasn't for LeBron? After the combine, people are saying that he's a legitimate prospect. He may even go in the first round. I don't know about that. I'm not exactly sure. I know exactly who should take him if I were this team. We'll talk about that more in a moment. But yes, there is no doubt that Bronny's going to be drafted.
No doubt. Wait. You just said no doubt?
There's no doubt somebody's going to take Bronny.
Couple problems here. 6'4", can't handle the ball well enough to be a point guard, and doesn't shoot well enough to be a shooting guard. So you're the in-between guy, right? The kid doesn't really average many points, doesn't really average many assists, has shown nothing on the collegiate level. Absolutely nothing. No flashes, no games where you're just like, oh my God. Maybe one game where he came out against Oregon State. What I don't understand here is he looked great in a practice. Couldn't miss a shot. Wonderful. I've seen millions and millions, and every one of these scouts, I've seen millions of players look great in a practice, look great in a combine, look great in a trial. I've seen guys throw incredible in a trial, but that's why we play the game, and that's why we put people on them. We cover them. This kid hasn't done anything, and I'm saying that legitimately. He hasn't done anything at the collegiate level to show himself as any sort of prospect. If his last name wasn't James, nobody would ever talk to him, and he wouldn't even got invited to a combine.
No, there's no doubt he wouldn't have been invited, and odds are he wouldn't have been drafted if he wasn't LeBron James' son. However, under the circumstances, he's going to be drafted. That's definitely going to happen. The Lakers will end up taking him in the second round if he's available. However...
Oh, God. Waste. Sorry.
However, I have a team that should take him in the first round.
Oh, God. Who is this? The Jets?
No.
Sorry, that's a Jets joke.
The Sixers should take Bronny James. It makes all the sense in the world. If you're trying to win now, which you have to because you have a 30-year-old Joel Embiid, so he's not going to be at the peak of his powers forever. You have only 3 players on the books for next season, Embiid and 2 more guys. You're going to figure out a way to re-sign Maxey. You're going to have Embiid. And then if you draft Bronny, you can convince LeBron to come over here and you have enough money to sign him. He desperately wants to play with his son. We all know it. Philadelphia is a very good basketball town. It just makes all the sense in the world. And if you cannot convince LeBron to come over, then you can hold up the Lakers and say, listen, we'll swap picks, and then you give me your pick next year just so you can make LeBron happy.
That's a good point. I will give you some credit for this, James. I am amazed with the length that it's taking for anybody to actually want LeBron James. That they're willing to draft somebody who they don't want to get a player that they do want. It's kind of tough. It's kind of tough to hear that if you were Bronny, right? I've got nothing against Bronny. I want to make sure that out there. I've got nothing against Bronny. I'm sure he's actually a great kid. He seems like a fine kid. His dad, on the other hand, I have a lot of problems with. Personally, I just don't like him. I think he's an incredible basketball player, but personally, I just don't like him. I don't like how he flops, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, he's one of the best of all time. You can't even argue it. One of the best of all time. At this point, he's not. He's not one of the best of all time. But I will never bet against him when you give him one last run. When you say this is your last hurrah, I am not betting against the man. He figures out a way to win every single year, figures out how to put a team on the court that is competitive at the very least. If the Sixers are rebuilding to the point of like basically what they're rebuilding, right? You want to call it rebuild. It's not a rebuild when you still have a superstar and it's the NBA and you only need 4 other players. It's never a rebuild. I don't know what process they're trusting, but I guess one player is the process. But to bring him in and to bring Bronny in, it does make sense because you're not drafting Bronny James, you're drafting LeBron James is what you're doing. You're drafting one spot for LeBron James. And that is almost a perfect thing. It is a great basketball town. It is a great basketball history. And it's a place that needs to win. That is actually kind of fun to watch the Sixers win. I actually kind of like it. It's fun to get the Philly fans all fired up. So that does make sense. And I think it's even smarter that then they can hold it over the Lakers' head and get more than Bronny James for their 11th pick. Get more value than an 11th pick for Bronny James. And you know what? I will give you credit there. Give it credit where credit is due because they can use this leverage to get LeBron James for whatever they whatever you want to call it. But I like it. I actually like that idea, James. I don't like agreeing with you. It doesn't feel right.
It just makes too much sense. I don't think it's going to happen. At the end of the day, I think Philadelphia is just going to draft a player that they think is going to fit. But if they had some brass ones, they would definitely take Bronny.
It blows my mind how in the NFL and the NBA that if you're basically not a NFL, right, you have more rounds. If you're not a first top couple round draft pick, that you're basically nothing. And in the NBA, if you're not a first round top 15 pick, you're basically just a role player, right? It blows my mind coming from baseball where we have 30 some rounds and anywhere you could find a guy because you let the player, the system itself allows the players to mature and to find themselves and to get better over time. It still is crazy that we're talking like in my mind, I'm thinking 11th round pick, role player. Like, you're not going to find a superstar at 11. You might hit gold. But in baseball at 11, you're going, hell yeah, we're going to find a superstar. In the 3rd, 4th round, you're going, hell yeah, we're going to find a superstar. And it's crazy to think that there's such a difference between the sports and the drafts.
Well, you take a look in the NHL, they have huge minor league systems. You can send them down to teams over and over. They can get their opportunity to play more often. You can't do that in basketball. The G League is a bunch of stiffs. You can't do that in football. They stay on the practice squad against a bunch of stiffs. They never get that chance to really compete against a high level like you do in baseball. But let's not forget, even if you're a first-round pick, doesn't mean you're going to be very good. I remember years back, the San Francisco Giants, they drafted this reliever out of Rice. They thought they had something special. The guy ended up sucking.
See, people, see what he does to me? Just takes personal shots. Personal shots. I didn't suck all the time. I had some decent times. Gotta own it. Hey, 18 games. Took me 18 games in the minors to get to the big leagues, and they ended up turning me into LaTroy Hawkins. That's legit. Hey, you got to find value somewhere, James.
They should have kept you down there seasoning a little longer, buddy. Just a little longer.
Well, I am glad they didn't. And you know what? The Lakers or Sixers or however many other teams that are ever even considering Bronny James is going to have to figure out what their value is for a 6'4" point/shooting guard that averages 5 points a game and less assists, and if they're ever going to get LeBron James out of that deal. So to that team, good luck on whatever you try to figure out, but I want to know what you guys think. Would you draft Bronny James straight up? Would you draft Bronny James if you got LeBron James with him? I want to know what you think, and I want you to see your predictions. Let me know who's going to draft him and if they're going to get LeBron James. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you click the like button. More likes equals more great content for you. And if you haven't, subscribe now.